In the heart of Florence, during the Renaissance, lived a sculptor who became known not for the speed of his work, but for his peculiar habit of spending 90 days studying a single block of marble. The locals would gather at his workshop, watching him circle the massive stone hour after hour, day after day. Some whispered he had lost his mind. Others claimed he was merely putting on a show. But the sculptor remained unmoved by their judgment, his eyes fixed on the raw material before him. When asked why he wouldn't begin carving, he would simply smile and say, "I am carving. With every moment of observation, I am removing layers of uncertainty. With every hour of contemplation, I am chipping away at confusion." The people of Florence couldn't understand that the most crucial part of his work was happening in the space between his vision and the stone. On the 90th day, he finally lifted his chisel. What followed was a display of such precision and purpose that it seemed as if he wasn't sculpting at all, but rather liberating a form that had been trapped within the marble all along. In a matter of weeks, he revealed a masterpiece that would stand the test of centuries. The sculptor understood something that most of us have forgotten in our rush toward instant transformation. True change begins in the space of preparation, in the moments of deep understanding before any visible action takes place. Your next 90 days are like that block of marble. Within them lies a masterpiece, a version of yourself so powerful that it will influence not just the next month or year, but the next 3 decades of your life. The difference between those who create lasting change and those who merely wish for it lies not in their tools or talents, but in their understanding of the transformation process. Just as our sculptor knew that his 90 days of observation would save him from costly mistakes and mediocre results, your next 90 days will determine whether you're merely chipping away at the surface of your potential or truly liberating the masterpiece within. Within every human being exists 4 fundamental dimensions. Think of them as the cardinal points on your personal compass of transformation. Just as a master navigator understands that true direction comes from reading multiple coordinates, lasting change requires us to work with all 4 dimensions simultaneously. The first dimension is your physical reality, the tangible world of action and results. Most people begin and end their transformation journey here, which explains why so many attempts at change crumble, like sandcastles against the tide of time. Your physical reality is merely the surface of the ocean. The real currents of change run much deeper. Beneath the physical lies your mental landscape, a vast territory of thoughts, beliefs, and patterns that have been sculpted by years of experience, education, and environment. This landscape is like a sophisticated computer that's been programmed over decades. The problem isn't the programming itself. It's that most people never realize they have access to the source code. They live their entire lives running on software written by others, wondering why they can't produce different outputs. The third dimension is your emotional territory, the realm of feelings, impulses, and deep-seated reactions that often hijack your best intentions. Think of emotions as water in a glass. When the water is turbulent, it distorts everything you see through it. Most people try to change while their emotional waters are churning, then wonder why their perception and decisions seem clouded. The fourth dimension, often overlooked yet crucial, is your energy dynamics, the vital force that determines not just what you can do, but how powerfully you can do it. This isn't just about physical energy, it's about the fundamental vibration of your being. Like a radio signal, the strength and clarity of your energy determine how effectively you can broadcast your intentions into reality. Why do most people remain trapped in patterns they desperately want to break? Because they're trying to change their lives while remaining entangled in the very web that holds them in place. It's like trying to untie a knot while your hands are bound by the same rope. The power of deliberate disconnection, the ability to step back and create space between yourself and your patterns, is what makes true transformation possible. This is where the art of deliberate disconnection becomes crucial. Just as a scientist must step back from their experiment to observe it objectively, you must create distance between yourself and your ingrained patterns to see them clearly. This doesn't mean physically isolating yourself, though that can be helpful, but rather developing the capacity to observe your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without being immediately swept away by them. Think of it like this. For years, you've been both the actor and the character in your life's play. To transform, you must learn to be the director as well. This requires developing what I call the observer's perch, a mental position from which you can watch your own patterns unfold without being caught in their gravitational pull. The beauty of working with all four dimensions is that change in one area creates ripples throughout the entire system. When you adjust your energy, your emotions naturally shift. When your emotions settle, your mental clarity improves. When your mind clears, your physical actions become more purposeful and powerful. This is the architecture of lasting transformation. Not a linear path, but a symphonic movement, where every element plays its part in perfect harmony. Now, let me write the section on the first 30 days breaking the shell in line with the specified word count and style. Like a snake shedding its skin, the first 30 days of transformation are about creating space for the new by releasing the old. But unlike the snake, our shedding process isn't automatic. It requires deliberate, conscious effort to break free from patterns that have calcified over decades. The most profound secret of personal transformation lies in understanding the gap, that microscopic space between stimulus and response. Right now, most of your reactions are automatic, like a key fitting perfectly into a lock that was carved over years of repetition. When someone criticizes you, you react. When an opportunity appears, you hesitate. When fear arises, you retreat. These responses feel natural because they've been rehearsed thousands of times. But here's the revelation that will change everything. Your patterns are not you. They are simply well-worn paths in the forest of your mind. The first 30 days are about creating new paths, and it begins with pattern interruption. Every time you catch yourself sliding into an automatic response, pause. This pause is your power. It's the chisel that begins to separate you from behaviors that have become second nature. Think of your current self as a suit of armor you've built over years. This armor once protected you, but now it restricts your movement, limits your growth, and disconnects you from your true potential. Breaking this shell requires systematic self-observation. Start by tracking your triggers, those moments when you automatically shift into patterns you've outgrown. Notice how certain words make your shoulders tense, how specific situations make your mind race, how particular people drain your energy. During these first 30 days, your task is not to change everything, it's to become aware of everything. Like a scientist studying a complex phenomenon, observe yourself with curiosity rather than judgment. What triggers your stress response? What situations make you abandon your commitments? What environments bring out your worst habits? This isn't about fixing, it's about facing. The brain creates neural pathways like water creates rivers, through repeated flow in the same direction. But just as a river can be redirected, your neural pathways can be reshaped. Each time you pause before reacting, you're creating a microscopic gap in the old pattern. Each time you choose a different response, you're carving a new potential path. This is why the first 30 days often feel like you're fighting against your own nature, because in many ways you are. But here's what most people miss. The goal isn't to win the fight. The goal is to step out of the ring entirely. Instead of battling old patterns, focus on building new ones. Instead of resisting negative thoughts, practice directing your attention elsewhere. Instead of forcing change, create environments that naturally encourage it. This phase of transformation is about mental decluttering, removing the psychological debris that's accumulated over years. Just as you would clean a house room by room, systematically examine your beliefs, habits, and reactions. Which ones serve your growth? Which ones hold you back? Which ones exist simply because you've never questioned them? The key to success in these first 30 days lies not in your ability to change everything at once, but in your commitment to staying aware. Even when you fall back into old patterns, and you will, maintain your role as the observer. Each lapse becomes data, not defeat. Each setback becomes information, not failure. This is how you begin to break the shell of your old self, not through force, but through persistent, patient awareness. Remember, just as our sculptor spent 90 days studying his marble before making a single cut, these 30 days of observation and pattern interruption are laying the groundwork for everything that follows. You're not just changing behaviors, you're developing a new relationship with yourself. You're not just breaking habits, you're building the foundation for a new way of being that will serve you for the next 30 years. The middle 30 days are where transformation moves from theoretical to tangible, like a blueprint coming to life. This phase is about understanding your unique design, not the person others want you to be, not the version society expects, but the authentic expression of your highest potential. Think of yourself as a complex instrument that's been playing the wrong music. It's not that the instrument is broken, it's that it's been used in ways that don't match its true design. During these middle 30 days, you begin to discover your natural frequency, your inherent rhythm, your authentic resonance. The first step is distinguishing between true potential and conditioned limitations. Your mind has created boundaries based on past experiences, failures, and other people's opinions. These boundaries are like invisible walls in a vast open field. They exist only because you believe they do. Through systematic testing and controlled challenge, you begin to realize that many of your "I can't" statements are simply "I haven't yet" in disguise. Understanding the science of habit formation becomes crucial here. Your brain doesn't distinguish between helpful and harmful habits. It simply responds to repetition and reward. Every action you take is like casting a vote for the person you're becoming. During these 30 days, you learn to cast your votes more consciously, understanding that each decision, no matter how small, is either reinforcing your old identity or building your new one. This is where most transformation attempts fail, in the gap between knowing and doing. To bridge this gap, you need to create sustainable change mechanisms. These aren't just routines or schedules. They're complete systems that make your desired behaviors more natural than your old patterns. Like a well-designed building that naturally guides people toward the exits, your system should make positive choices feel effortless and negative ones require extra effort. Consider how water always finds the path of least resistance. Your old habits are like deep rivers carved into the landscape of your life. Creating new habits isn't about forcing water uphill, it's about gradually carving new channels that make desired behaviors the natural flow. This requires understanding your personal triggers, energy patterns, and natural rhythms. During these 30 days, you establish what I call personal standards, non-negotiable levels of performance and behavior that become your new normal. These aren't goals to be achieved, they're minimum standards to be maintained. Just as a luxury hotel maintains certain standards regardless of occupancy, your standards define who you are when no one is watching. This is also the phase where you learn to work with your natural energy cycles rather than against them. Every person has peak periods of creativity, focus, and physical energy. By mapping these cycles and aligning your activities with them, you create a sustainable rhythm of productivity and recovery. This isn't about pushing harder, it's about flowing smarter. The middle 30 days are where theory meets practice in the laboratory of your life. Each day becomes an experiment in living deliberately, in making conscious choices rather than reactive decisions. You learn to distinguish between movement and progress, between activity and achievement, between busyness and effectiveness. Most importantly, this is where you develop what I call strategic patience, the ability to maintain consistent action without immediate results. Like a farmer who understands that harvest follows natural laws, you learn to trust the process of growth while maintaining steady effort. You're not just changing what you do, you're transforming who you are at a fundamental level. Remember, transformation isn't about adding more to your life. It's about removing everything that doesn't align with your true design. Just as a sculptor reveals the statue by removing excess marble, you reveal your authentic self by eliminating habits, beliefs, and behaviors that don't serve your highest expression. These middle 30 days are your opportunity to establish new baselines in every area of your life. Each new standard you set, each system you create, each habit you build becomes a foundation stone for the next 30 years of your life. You're not just creating temporary changes. You're engineering a new normal that will sustain you through the decades to come. The final 30 days mark your transition from consciousness to competence, where new behaviors become natural expressions rather than conscious efforts. This phase is like a master pianist who no longer thinks about individual notes, but creates symphonies effortlessly. Let me show you how this unfolds. Building momentum through small wins becomes your daily practice during this phase. Think of momentum like a spacecraft breaking free from Earth's gravity. The initial thrust requires enormous energy, but once you break through the atmosphere, maintaining speed becomes effortless. Each small victory creates a ripple effect, making the next success more accessible. When you complete your morning routine consistently, it energizes your afternoon meetings. When you maintain your standards in small matters, bigger challenges naturally bend to your will. Creating systems for continuous growth is crucial during these final 30 days. A system is different from a goal. While a goal is a destination, a system is a living organism that evolves with you. Consider how your smartphone automatically updates its software while you sleep. Your personal growth system should function similarly, continuously upgrading your capabilities without requiring constant conscious intervention. The compounding effect becomes visible during this phase. Just as money grows exponentially through compound interest, personal growth follows the same principle. The skills you develop don't just add up, they multiply. Your enhanced focus combines with your improved energy management, creating exponential results. Your stronger boundaries merge with your clearer communication, generating more profound relationships. Your deeper self-awareness fuses with your strategic thinking, producing better decisions. This is where you begin engineering your future with precision. Like an architect designing a skyscraper, you're not just planning for immediate needs, but considering how your structure will weather decades of challenges. Every habit you've built, every standard you've established, every system you've created becomes a foundational element of your 30-year vision. Understanding time differently becomes essential here. Most people view time linearly, but successful transformation requires seeing time as a matrix of interconnected moments. The decision you make today doesn't just affect tomorrow. It creates ripples that influence opportunities decades from now. This perspective transforms simple choices into strategic moves on the chessboard of your life. During these final 30 days, you learn to operate from what I call your future self perspective. Instead of making decisions based on who you are today, you make choices aligned with who you're becoming. This isn't about pretending. It's about expanding your identity to include your evolved self. When faced with decisions, you ask, what would my future self appreciate me doing right now? This is also where you master the art of strategic discomfort. Like an athlete who understands that temporary pain leads to permanent improvement, you learn to embrace challenges that stretch your capabilities. But unlike random stress, this is calculated growth. Carefully chosen challenges that expand your comfort zone in specific directions. The most profound shift happens in how you view obstacles. They no longer appear as barriers to overcome, but as opportunities for expansion. Each challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate your new capabilities, to reinforce your transformed identity. Problems that once would have derailed you for days now become exercises in applying your enhanced problem-solving skills. In these final 30 days, you're not just practicing new behaviors, you're embodying a new way of being. The gap between who you are and who you want to become gradually closes, not through force, but through natural evolution. Like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, the transformation becomes complete. Remember, these final 30 days aren't an endpoint. They're a launch pad. You're not just completing a program, you're initiating a new trajectory that will influence the next 3 decades of your life. Every habit, system, and standard you've established becomes a thrust multiplier, propelling you toward your highest potential. This is where transformation becomes transcendence, moving beyond merely changing behaviors to fundamentally altering how you interact with life itself. You're not just creating a better version of yourself, you're establishing a new baseline for what's possible in your life. The architecture of lasting change rests upon 4 fundamental principles that work like natural laws. They operate whether you acknowledge them or not. Understanding and aligning with these principles determines whether your transformation becomes permanent or fades like morning mist. The first principle is the law of conscious choice. Every moment presents a decision point, though most people float through life responding automatically to circumstances. Think of your mind as a vast garden. Each thought, each reaction, each decision is like planting a seed. The law of conscious choice states that you are always gardening. The only question is whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously. When you operate unconsciously, weeds grow freely. When you operate consciously, you cultivate precisely what you want to grow. The power of environmental design operates as the second principle. Your environment is constantly shaping you, much like water shapes rock over time, not through force, but through consistent influence. Most people try to change while keeping their environment static, then wonder why they keep falling back into old patterns. It's like trying to stay dry while standing in the rain. Your physical space, social circles, daily routines, these aren't just settings for your life. They are active forces molding your behaviors and beliefs. When you understand this principle, you stop trying to fight your environment and start designing it to support your desired changes. The principle of incremental progress governs how sustainable change actually occurs. Consider how nature grows a bamboo tree. For the first 4 years, the plant builds an extensive root system underground, showing minimal visible growth. Then, in the 5th year, it can grow up to 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Most people abandon their transformation efforts because they're looking for 5th-year results without doing the first 4 years of root building. Every massive change begins with microscopic shifts. Neurons rewiring, habits forming, beliefs evolving. Understanding this principle liberates you from the tyranny of immediate results and allows you to focus on the daily actions that build your foundation. The rule of strategic discomfort completes our framework. Growth occurs at the edge of your comfort zone, not so far that you break, but far enough that you stretch. Like a muscle that grows stronger through controlled stress, your capabilities expand through calculated challenges. Most people either avoid discomfort entirely or chase it randomly. The key is to be strategic, choosing which areas of comfort to disrupt and which to maintain, understanding that sustainable transformation requires both growth and stability. These principles interweave to create a fabric of lasting change. When you make conscious choices within a deliberately designed environment, pursuing incremental progress through strategic discomfort, transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Like a master composer who understands both individual notes and their harmonious interaction, your grasp of these principles allows you to orchestrate change at the deepest levels of your being. The difference between information and transformation lies in systematic implementation. Think of this framework as your daily navigation system, not just a map showing where to go, but precise coordinates guiding every step. Your daily practices form the foundation of this framework. Each morning begins with what I call a power hour. Not necessarily 60 minutes, but a dedicated period where you align your 4 dimensions. Start with 5 minutes of physical movement to activate your body. Follow with 10 minutes of mental clarity work, not just meditation, but active observation of your thought patterns. Then spend time reviewing your key objectives for the day, but differently than most people do. Instead of creating a to-do list, create a to-be list. Ask yourself, who do I need to be today to accomplish what matters most? This shifts your focus from activity to identity. Weekly reviews become your course correction mechanism. Every Sunday evening, dedicate 90 minutes to what I call the 7 R's process. Reflect on the past week's experiences, review your progress against your standards, release what's not serving you, reinforce what's working, recalibrate your approach where needed, recommit to your path, and reset your energy for the week ahead. This isn't just planning, it's strategic life architecture. Monthly assessments serve as your transformation checkpoints. On the last day of each month, conduct a deep dive into your progress. Examine not just what you've accomplished, but who you're becoming. Look for patterns in your successes and setbacks. Are your new systems supporting your growth? Are your environments still aligned with your goals? Most importantly, are you maintaining the standards you've set? Or have you unconsciously allowed old patterns to creep back in? Quarterly recalibration is where you zoom out to see the bigger picture. Think of it as climbing to a mountaintop to survey your territory. This is where you connect your daily actions to your 30-year vision. Are your current trajectories aligned with your long-term destination? What adjustments need to be made? What new capabilities do you need to develop for the next phase of your journey? The framework isn't rigid, it's designed to evolve with you. Like a living organism, it adapts to your growing capabilities and changing circumstances while maintaining its core function, ensuring that every day moves you closer to your highest potential. Your transformation journey parallels this timeless story. These 90 days aren't just about changing your habits or upgrading your skills. They're about developing an intimate understanding of your own nature. Like the sculptor who saw the masterpiece within the marble, you've learned to see the potential within yourself. The tools you've gained, conscious choice, environmental design, incremental progress, and strategic discomfort. These aren't just techniques, they're the chisels that will continue shaping your life for decades to come.